Have you ever realized your calendar is full and your joy is thin? In this episode, Wes Towers shares the success definition he absorbed as a kid. Busy equals important, and the shift that changed everything. Building real value, protecting what matters, and designing work around life. This is the Your Next Success podcast, and I am your host, Dr. Carolyn Sangal. I am a life-first career coach and strategist on a mission to normalize questioning your career, because I believe each of us is made on purpose for a purpose only we can fulfill. The longer we live out of alignment with who we are, what we do best, and why we are here, the more we miss out, and the more the world misses out on what only we can give. The Your Next Success podcast is where we explore how to build a career that truly fuels your life. We talk about self-discovery, smart job search strategies, professional growth, and you will hear stories from people who have navigated big career transitions themselves, so you can create a life-first career and become your own version of authentic success, one that is aligned, meaningful, and truly yours. My guest today is Wes Towers. He runs Uplift 360, a digital agency for builders and trades. His focus is simple: smarter websites, practical SEO, and growth you can measure. He earned his playbook on real jobs, not in theory, and now helps others skip the painful lessons. Some definitions of success get installed early, before you ever choose them. For Wes, it was the idea that busy equals important, and important equals successful. That belief can build a career. It can also quietly eat the parts of life that you actually want to live. What I respect about Wes is how clearly he names his shift, how he realized success becomes less about motion and more about value, presence, and building work that supports the life you want to live. In this episode, you'll hear how Wes built a digital agency serving builders and trades, and what he learned about creating measurable growth through websites and practical SEO. We talk about the busy equals success imprint, how it shows up in real decisions, and what changed when Wes started protecting what mattered while still building something strong. And you'll hear his take on trust and clear communication in a noisy market, plus how he uses AI to streamline operations while keeping the human relationship front and center. Welcome, Wes Towers, to Your Next Success. I'm super excited to be talking with you today.
It's a privilege to be here. I've listened to a bit of your material just recently, and it's good to talk to you in person.
Oh, awesome. Thanks, Wes. All right. Well, as you know, then, I love to talk about careers, people's journeys, career transitions, that whole stage of becoming what you're doing now. And we're going to get into all of the amazing things that you do to help many, many businesses. But let's go back to your childhood. Tell me a little bit, like, where were you born? Where did you grow up? In your littlest you, what did you love doing?
Yeah, well, I grew up here in Australia, Victoria, just outside of Melbourne, in a small town. So we grew up near the beach, and I had a really interesting mix of just different cultures in my family. You can't see by looking at me, but I just saw some photographs of me as a child with Chinese relatives and so on, and so we had Chinese heritage and Aboriginal heritage and a whole bunch of other things. So I guess a blend of all sorts of things. But I guess as a child, the first instance where I kind of realized I was good at something and had a passion for something was when I was in primary school, so grade 6. There was a new school being developed, so a splitting of one school into two because it was just so big. And the new school had a competition to design their school logo, and I designed
Oh.
one and submitted it, and it won. So I guess that recognition of being good at something drove me forward into the design career path that I still pursue today. It's obviously evolved over the course of time, but into website design, but from graphic design back then. So I think those things, when you encourage a child in those early days that they're good at something, it sort of sticks, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So being close to the beach and all of that, or I guess did you do a lot of beach related things too,
Yeah,
or what sports or what kind of things outside of what you were supposed to do? What did you do when you got to choose?
yeah. Well, we were reminiscing a little bit about all the different things that we used to do. Back then, there was no mobile phones or cell phones, and so we would go off playing along the beach, quite a distance from home. We were right on the waterfront, so we would wander along in this quiet area. But mum and dad were happy with that because we had our dog with us for security,
Mm.
which I don't know what the dog would do if he fell off a cliff or something. You know, there wasn't major cliffs, but if something happened, it was a different time back
Yeah.
then, wasn't it? We less worry and concern about a lot of things. But yeah, grew up
Yes.
going to the beach a lot and outdoors, and we play a game called AFL footy, Australian rules football.
Oh,
So we
nice.
did that a little
Yeah.
bit. You might have seen it a little
Now,
bit.
like football, like soccer, right? Like football, like,
No,
or
so
football,
Aussie.
like football, like American football, like the brown ball, or football, like European kind of. Yeah, which
It's
one?
yeah, Aussie footy is totally different to all of that. We have
Oh,
like an oval footy, but it's not as pointy on the ends
yeah.
as what you have in gridiron. But yeah, it's a totally unique sport to our country. So when other people try and watch it, they've just got no idea what's going on. But yeah, we love it here, so we're really
That's
passionate about
cool.
it. Yeah.
That's cool. I wonder if your mom was thinking, because, like, I don't know, we might be similar age, or you might be a little younger than me, not sure. But, there was this Benji movie, right? And, like, if anything got in trouble, that dog Benji would go and, like, tell people. So maybe she thought
Yes.
that the dog would
Yes.
come back home and bark twice if you're fine or not, you know?
Yeah.
But
Yeah, well, I remember watching Benji. Also, you may have had it there, Skippy. Did you get watch Skippy? It was an Australian
hmm,
TV show. It was a
I didn't watch
kangaroo.
Skippy, but
Yeah.
oh,
The
cool. I don't
kangaroo.
recall. If it was, I blocked it for trauma from other reasons, but no. Just
Yeah, so similar kind of thing. This kangaroo that could talk apparently, and it would save the day every time. So yeah, same sort of idea.
oh, that's cool. All right. All right. So you are growing up, living your best life. Did you have siblings?
Yeah, a couple of
Yeah.
brothers. Yeah, yeah. I'm
Nice.
the eldest. So
And
yeah.
oh, that's cool. So you're already starting to take the lead a bit just by age and stage of your of your birth order. What did your parents do for work?
Yeah, Dad worked in shoe shops, managed shoe shops around here in Geelong, just outside of Melbourne. Mum was mostly at home as a child for me, but before that she worked in legal
Hmm.
as a legal assistant or something like that. In one of the
Interesting.
law firms here in Geelong as well. So yeah, yeah, they had different backgrounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, my grandparents owned a business. That was, I suppose, they owned a few businesses. Set up a bakery in a region and then sell it and move on and do another one. So I always had it in the back of my mind, people can do businesses. And also my uncle, he was an architect, he was running a business. So in the back of my mind, I realized people did business and that was a potential thing to do. I think
Yeah.
it's hard to go into a field that you haven't seen modeled to you to a large degree.
Yes,
Um,
yes, I
yeah,
absolutely. And there are, if you look generationally at a lot of families, you can see similar career themes kind of running through them if you
yeah,
ever go back and do that
that's true.
exploration. So it's kind of neat. But you're right that so much of sometimes people's career journeys is just based on, maybe what their parents said or thought, or what you saw an aunt or uncle or a close family friend. And that's one of the things that if I get to have the pleasure of working with somebody earlier on and they're trying to choose, there's actually some very amazing assessments that could help open up based on somebody's natural abilities, how they're hardwired to some career fields to start the exploration. And then I would encourage, let's try job shadowing and kind of try before you buy, or at least learn more about how that goes. Because otherwise, you're just with a very narrow set of choices of what's hot, what you've heard that could be good or make a lot of money, um,
Yeah.
and a bunch of trial and error. And there's a
You don't know what you
little
don't
more
know, isn't it?
data.
Yeah, you just don't know
Yeah.
what you're missing out on if you haven't ever seen it or you haven't thought that it's something you can achieve. So I spoke of
Yeah.
AFL footy, Australian football. Only a few years ago, we had a women's teams established, so it was brand new. But the remarkable thing was, so no women had been really playing football, but once it started as like a proper level, like a serious level, all the girls were playing footy. So it was in them that they had a
Ah,
desire to play. It's just that they hadn't seen it yet. So once
yes.
it's modeled to
Yes.
them, they've seen it, the opportunity opens up. So I think that's really cool. And as you say, in careers, if you've never seen a career path, you've never seen anyone do it, you just won't be aware of it.
Yeah, it's tricky. Okay, so you have won this logo competition for your school in primary school.
Yeah.
Then as you got into the next levels of education, did that stick, that creative kind of,
Yeah.
outlet, or what did you find yourself being drawn to?
Yeah, so I was a creative. I forgot to say, Mum was an artist as well. So whilst it's not a
Ah,
career, but it's something that she did with her time. So the creative kind of side of me was there, and so I went to uni for graphic design slash multimedia, and got my first job after that in Sydney in a marketing company. They needed design work done. It's things have changed so fast. Well, it feels fast, but I sound like an old person when I say that. But they'd never designed a website. Year 2000, only had one computer connected to the internet on a dial-up modem. They were
mm,
an award-winning company, and they
yeah.
won a project to design a website and said, "Right, you're the young guy. You better figure out how to build that site because we've won the project." And so I did that, and found that I really, really loved it. The
Oh, that's
technical and the
awesome.
creative blend. You've got a bit of both,
Yeah.
so it suits me.
And then did you stay there then for a long time, or and then what happened?
No, so I worked for other people. That first company merged into another business as well, so it was kind of the same but different. And
Yeah.
so I was only working with those companies 3 years in total before I came down to. So that was in Sydney, and then came back to Melbourne, where I'm from. Um, and naively started my own business soon after. So I
Oh,
uh,
wow.
I had no idea how to do it, or how to have a client meeting, how to do a proposal. I was sweating so much, in meetings, those first few meetings, just feeling overwhelmed and everything, and figured it out eventually, luckily enough.
But what was it that made you even think, like, oh, forget this, I'll just do it on my own? What was that process?
Yeah, it was something I always wanted to do. I think, I
Mm.
suppose, looking at my uncle, he worked in another creative space as an architect, and I knew I always, I suppose, admired that. And so I thought, well, that might be something I do for my own career path eventually. But it was far earlier than I anticipated, simply because an opportunity popped up. There was another guy who tried to start his own digital agency, what I do, and it was just too much. He couldn't get enough work, and it was just too hard. So he said, "I'm going to throw in the towel." And I said, "What are you going to do with your couple of clients that you've still got?" And he said, "Well, you can have them." So I said, "Well, I will." And so I did that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So
he just gave it to you, or did he like sell it to you
no, I
somehow,
didn't
you
sell it.
know?
Just gave it to. There was very little work, but it was a
But
starting
still,
point. So it was just
yeah.
moonlighting at the start. So it was just me in the evenings after daytime work, until it
Yeah.
got to a point where I could go, full time in my own business and then hire a team as well. So yeah, it's kind of somewhat unplanned, but I guess the end goal was planned, but the way in which I've sort of navigated there has been just, unplanned.
So at what point did you feel comfortable enough to leave the full-time thing to just do this business that you were building?
Yeah, so it was just a simple goal to replace the equivalent to my income, really. So to be able to
Yeah.
build to a point where it was sustainable enough. And being
Yeah.
a young guy married at the time with um, just entering into our first mortgage as well. So, as a young person, all these things sort of can happen at once, and then soon after having children and so on. So the pressure on finances, only increases over those your younger adult years. And so just had to build it up to a financial position to be able to stay with it because I love it. I love doing the work, but I love the networking side of it as well. All the things, peripheral stuff, I guess, to the business, the core function. I just love,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's
How did you how did you approach networking? From being that young, I guess, well, in university, outside of the things you were supposed to be doing, were you involved in like a bunch of organizations, or did you learn that then, or is it just part of who you are? You're just always good to get along with people, make great friends, or how does that work?
no, I wasn't natural at it. I think I was fairly shy and reserved and self-conscious to a large degree. It was just that I needed the work badly, and a photographer guy that I just happened to bump into, and he mentioned he goes to a networking group, and he invited me along. So
Ah,
that one time, and so it was stretching for sure. It was to go there with a room full of business leaders who were fairly successful. At that time, just thought, wow, who am I to be in this room talking to these people? But the things you learn from just being in proximity to these types of people, you're
yeah,
watching how they present, how they communicate, how they dress, even the things that they talk about, and you kind of learn just by observation, and you get better at it and start to learn to enjoy and love it.
that's true. That's true. Yeah, a lot of things, it's like you just got to kind of try it before you're ready, right? There's no I don't know that there's really ever a time that someone's ready to get married or ready to have kids or ready to move or ready to get the house, right? But you just do the best you can, plow forward and make it work, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I heard someone
oh,
saying about that with the cost of children. Like if anyone did the calculations, they probably would never have kids because it's just so
for
expensive.
real.
Of course, yeah, over their
Yeah.
life, But it's
Yeah.
certainly all worth it. But you know,
Yeah.
we go in
For real.
naively.
Yeah, we do with all the best intentions, and we're going to do it better than anyone's ever done before,
Yeah,
So,
100%.
so how old are your kids now?
My eldest, he started working with me, which is really cool, 1 day a week. He is near 20. He'll be 20 in
Oh,
about a week's
wow.
time. Yeah, and the next one is 18 and 13. My daughter is the youngest.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay, so tell us about this 1 day a week. Whose idea was that?
that was my idea, but he was really excited by it. So he's really creative. So he's studying art at university. So, and he's been doing graphic design for influencers and so on. And so
Oh,
that's
nice.
kind of really aligned to what I do, but he does it for different types of people. And I just recognized there was an opportunity to see him more. So
Yeah.
if he
Oh,
works,
that's nice.
yeah, so he comes in 1 day a week, and it's a good working fit for what he does. Otherwise, he's studying, but also just working, making chicken burgers. So he'd prefer to be working with me, and the advantage of that is, of course, to be able to mentor him to a degree, because he's got intentions maybe to 1 day work for himself as well. So all those things I learnt the hard way. Hopefully, I can help mentor him to a degree in that path. He'll make his own mistakes, but hopefully, some of the mistakes I made, he doesn't have to because I can help him.
I hope not. Yeah. Now, does he bring his own clients, or is he working on projects that you already have?
No, so he's doing our work. Well, he's doing mostly our own social media posting. So Uplift
Oh, that's
360, our
good.
company, yeah. And so he does
Yeah.
all the reels and the social posts, and so on. So that's plenty to keep him occupied.
Oh, that's so cool. That's cool. So, how did you go about, or I guess, like when you are, well, tell a little bit about your company
Yeah,
first,
cool.
and then how do you help the people know what to do? How to utilize your services to the best of the ability, or how they reach new clients and all of those things. Imagine what your life would be like if your career aligned with who you are, what you do best, and actually fueled the life you want. At Next Success, We support all ages and stages through career transitions, from students exploring majors or careers to job seekers actively searching or reimagining their next move to professionals committed to self-awareness and leadership growth. Stay connected and explore what's possible at nextsuccesscareers.com and follow Next Success Method on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook.
Yeah, well, Uplift 360 is the business and it's a digital agency. And so we've niched in to the trades construction industry mostly. So they're our ideal clients. We've got others clients because it's been going over 20 years now. So legacy clients and some new ones come on outside that space, but that's mostly what we do. And it's reason being the majority of our better clients were doing that. So that industry. And once you niche in, you kind of learn a lot about the particular types of businesses and you can serve them to a higher level. So it's been brilliant, that little pivot. There's been micro pivots so many times along the journey, but that's probably the best one that I've made. It feels as though you're cutting off so many opportunities when you niche. But it just amplifies the better ones. So they're an ideal fit. So I forget the second part of the question. Did I answer it?
I do too. I did too. But I guess how do you? And so you're doing. So digital agency, is it you're doing their website? You're doing all of the.
Yeah.
Is it built off of a Go High level or a CC360 kind of a thing, or is it? That and
so we do mostly the websites and the optimization, so search engine optimization, and so they'll connect in with whatever CRM they're using, and so
that somebody has, so
there's so many of them, and so it's just a matter of connecting typically the forms into whatever they're using, which is usually a pretty easy process depending on what they're using. So getting them found online, which is becoming increasingly difficult with the amount of noise out there, as
yes,
we've all seen. The advantage of AI is it can produce content at scale really fast, and that's text or videos and images. And so because it can produce things so fast, everybody's doing it, and so there's just an overwhelm of information. So you've got to find ways to cut through that noise and come up with
how do you
something
do
unique.
that?
Yeah.
Because I'm constantly getting inundated with people trying to approach me from whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, or email saying something like, oh, you have this podcast or I've seen this stuff and you're not getting recognized because your stuff isn't being done well on SEO. And then I go look at them and I'm like, okay, well, they may have been doing this thing for a couple months. Cool. Are they just taking their stuff and putting it in the chat GPT and saying, pick out the good ones, or
probably, yeah.
Or what? Now, if it was you sending me, I'd be like, okay, well, you're coming in with 20 years of info. I think I trust that, but I don't know, right?
Yeah, it is because sometimes people will forward those types of emails to me but they're just spam. Because we register the domain names oftentimes for the client. And so there'll be even domain names that we've registered on behalf of the client that hasn't even got a website yet. And all of a sudden they're getting emails to say their website has errors in it. Well, there is no website. It's just...
That's the error.
Yeah. So, but sometimes they're just so convincing, these sort of messages, because people they'll have a whole bunch of technical stuff in there. That can scare people. So sometimes people will forward it to me and so on. But, by and large, it's nothing. So just...
fear-mongering.
Yeah, that's right. You don't know what you don't know. So, and people play on that. But, so the key elements, I suppose, for marketing now is to really drill down to precisely what makes you unique and be really specific in that. So anything that is different in your business to your competitors, they're the things you really need to highlight, because everything else is kind of generic and bland. But those key distinctions all of your attention should focus on those key distinctions. Let the marketplace educate about the general things, but your uniqueness is what needs to sing. So putting once you know what those things are, those core elements, then you can massage those through all your media, through your social media, through your website, of course. No matter where it is, make sure everything's aligned to those core values, I suppose. And they evolve and change. They're typically a reflection of the founder's own personal values and convictions. If it's a smaller business,
Yeah.
founder-led business.
I'm also like when you said how you niched down to the construction industry, I guess you just let the data, you didn't go out thinking 20 years ago, you know what I feel like doing is marketing for construction, but you just, I guess, looked and listened to who is coming to you, who was having the greatest results and who you enjoyed working with, and then that's how you
Yeah,
chose or
yeah. It's kind of funny. A lot of people assume that maybe I was in that career path beforehand, but I wasn't. I'm useless at picking up a hammer or I don't know what end of the screwdriver to hold. I'm pretty
right.
useless with all that sort of stuff.
But now you have all kinds of contacts,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
if
no,
there's
no,
something.
that's right. Yeah, absolutely. So, but for whatever reason, I related really well to these people. I suppose because they're so practical and pragmatic and down to earth, just typically. That for whatever reason I relate well to them, so I can understand where they're coming from, and I choose not to use too much lingo and things that all the jargon that people can sometimes confuse people with. I
Yeah.
prefer to avoid that as best I can. Some things you've got to cover, of course, but you want to find ways to cover it in a meaningful way so it makes sense to the market. And I've just found that I'm good at that. So that's my craft, I suppose,
That's
coming
cool.
through.
How did you learn it? Just trial and error over time? Because, a lot of what I'm learning and what I've learned is the design is awesome and the messaging that's in there, it's got to either be, like you're saying, speaking kind of with you, not above, not below, but, how
Yeah.
did you learn that side of it?
Yeah, that's an interest. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe I would assume it's just because I love people. I like talking to people. I like
Mm,
listening to them. So maybe it's being the listening skills, I suppose. Um,
yeah.
yeah, and I'm a founder-led business too, so I understand where they're coming from. I hire people in different tasks. I've had to
Yeah.
hire a lawyer because someone's treading on my trademark territory at the moment. So I've had to hire a lawyer.
Ah,
Well, I'm hiring someone who knows their craft, and I don't know necessarily all the technical stuff they've got to cover off. Just have to lean on them to explain in my understand to my capacity of understanding. So I guess that's kind of where it's at to realize, hey, people don't necessarily know, and that's the things I'm talking about, or the technical stuff, and to find a way to communicate what's important to them.
that's a good point, though, as far as like knowing how to talk with and deal with people. Because so much of my, even in when I did before I had my own business and recruiting and all that, I just thought, I'm just going to try to be the recruiter I wish I had. I'm going to try to be the person I wish was on the other end of the phone. Or I guess as you're doing it, it sounds like you're saying, like, I'm going to try to have the perspective of the person who lands on this webpage for the first time and try to make it interesting and compelling enough that they want to reach out to my client with that
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's helpful not to know too much about the technical aspect. I had a friend who was in a solar company selling the solar panels for homes mostly. And he said an interesting thing, that when he hires his sales force, he makes sure that they've got no experience with solar.
Oh,
And his rationale behind that was, if they've come from somewhere else because they've got a bunch of technical expertise in solar, they'll start talking about the technical, all the numbers and figures and all the technical jargon and what it's made of and all that. Whereas
yeah.
this guy wanted to be talking about the dollar savings, because that's what made sense to the audience. So he found it easier if they came into his company without any other preconceived understanding of solar panels. He wanted them to know
Yeah.
what was important in his view to sell solar panels, which made good sense. So I've kind of tried to yeah, there's ways in which we kind of adapted that sort of thinking. So you can think from the customer's point of view. What is it they're really trying
Mm.
to buy here? What are they really needing? How can we
Yeah.
serve what they're needing?
And what do they really think is important and communicating that in a very practical way? Because see, so much of this stuff that you're talking about of how you serve businesses, because those are your clients, but the same thing if there's people who are starting to consider a new career opportunity, like how they can
Yeah,
communicate to a manager, how can they can differentiate themselves. It's the same process, just
yeah,
a slightly different angle of viewing it as far as those things.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a. I mean, with what's happening in AI and career paths and everything. I mean, a few years ago, I got a business valuation done, and it came in a whole lot lower than anticipated, purely because the valuer said the rise of AI was a threat to my whole industry, not just my business, but the industry. And so that was a wake up call. And my career path is my business. And so, how do I
Yeah.
transition? Like, there's a massive potential threat and opportunity. Threats and opportunities often go hand in
Yeah.
hand. So I had to think through, okay, what do we need to adapt right now to be sustainable, and what's changing, and how do we position for what's likely to become the new normal, I suppose. So I think that's in every career path. Those that can predict and foresee what's coming and align their passion
And
and yeah, be in position, ready. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
and like, and I guess you kind of had that thrown at you 20 something years ago, right? Where it's like, oh, you're the young guy, go figure out the website. You know,
yeah,
and so now it's like somebody says AI is about to take your stuff, and you're thinking, wait, really? I don't know. I mean, I do still think there's a large amount of people that would rather talk to a real human about their concerns versus just trusting this AI, because sometimes you put something in AI, even if you have the paid version, and you ask it to do one thing and it tells you something else. And you're like, wait, what? Or it tries to bring back, well, because you're this. And I'm like, no, I'm still not that, you know? But
yeah.
yeah, so how have you done that? How have you dove in as far as this AI, and instead of it having be your competitor, how's it now your partner, I guess?
Yeah, yeah. So it's, as you say, it's an assistant. So you still need the expert knowledge for sure, but it has helped streamline process a whole lot. So we're really diligent on standard operating procedures. So everything gets done consistently the same time, the same way every time, no matter who picks up the projects. Because if someone's away sick or whatever, someone else needs to be able to deal with the project wherever it's at. So I've always been diligent on that, but we had to rework that quite significantly just because there's new opportunities and technology to streamline
Mm-hmm.
all of that sort of stuff. That's been reworked significantly. That doesn't affect the end client. The same outcomes are achieved, but so that's behind the scenes. But then to think through, it was a real time of a reflection. And what do I want in business? What's important to me? What am I going to pursue? How am I going to adapt to what people need? How do I serve people? So it's less about the technical know-how of building the site, because that's becoming easier and easier. And it's more about that expert knowledge. I love, as I said before, I love people. I love talking to people. I love gleaning from them an understanding of where they're at in their business and how I can support them. So the tools have enabled me to have a bit more time, that I can spend more time with
Ah,
people. And so the humanization, curiously enough, AI has allowed me to humanize the business a whole lot more, and that's what I love doing. So it's working really well right now, but we need to stay on our toes, because who knows what's around the corner with the technology being in the
correct.
space we're at. Yeah, so it's fun. I
Yeah,
think.
even with some of these, yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
go on. Yeah,
With some of these like AI clones that people can build even of themselves, right? Then you're
mm,
starting to hear some people say like, well, AI is just going to take over podcasts. And I'm like, what? Like, come on. Can you
yeah.
imagine if it was just my clone talking to your clone? I would just be a little weird,
Yeah,
you know?
well, yeah, I saw on I think it was a Facebook ad, one of the social platforms, a platform that's proposing that it does all your podcasting for you. It does an AI version of yourself and does
Mm,
show after show. What? That's just a new level of spam, really. It's just
really?
there's no authentic anything in it. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. There's no. I can't imagine anyone listening to that stuff, but we're going to have to fight to get through the noise if people go down that path.
That's true. Oh, interesting. Okay, so how about when you were young, what did you think success was? What did you think that like what were you chasing or what was your thoughts around it? And then we'll end up going a little bit later into like and then now what do you think today, But sometimes, not saying this was you, sometimes people have a thought of what they think it is to be successful, like oh, it's the house, the car, the this, the that, the other. And then as they kind of go through life more, they realize, oh, those things that they were chasing aren't actually it at all.
Yeah.
Um, what's been your experience?
Yeah, well, I suppose as a child growing up in a church, there was a diverse range of different types of people. That's a massive advantage to anyone growing up to see different people and how they function in life and so on. But Dad really admired this guy, Ross. And so I could just sense Dad thought this guy was awesome. So I in turn looked at Ross and thought, what is Ross doing? Why is he so awesome? And I remember Dad saying, Ross is a really important businessman and he's really, really busy. And so I suppose even as a child, I put a value on being busy, which is
Mm-hmm.
that's a crazy measure of success. It should be quite the opposite.
Yeah.
So starting out, just trying to create busy work, starting business and you feel as though just if you're doing lots of hours, you're somewhat successful, but kind of flip that on its head. Like it's not about being busy. It's about being productive and efficient and effective and producing value in the world. And you can't do that effectively if you're just focused on busy work. You got to find ways to bring more value to more people in less
Yeah.
time. So yeah, that was a big shift as a child. It's kind of I was only thinking about it just walking down the street before. The things that sort of stick in your mind, the assumptions you make based on what you've heard as a child. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, move past
Yeah.
that.
I think I picked that I picked up on that as well. And somehow it was like anybody going from, in working in a company or corporate, somebody told me once, like, if you carry a notebook or something, you're really busy and walk fast with purpose. And I was like, okay. So then I just kind of adapted that. And anytime it always like, if I'm going to leave my desk to go even to the restroom, I was carrying a notebook because somebody
Yeah,
told me that meant you were like productive or something. I'm like, what the heck? And then
yeah,
yeah, later it was like, forget it. I'm just gonna walk and be me. And
yeah,
also, that quest to chase after what the world thinks is success,
mm,
sometimes that busy or that, it comes at the expense of relationships with the
yeah,
people that you chose and that chose you as well. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so that was definitely an early lesson learned, and I'm thankful that I learnt it reasonably early when the kids were young, so I could put the time into, coaching basketball and so on, and being there for dance, dropping off and picking up, and all those things that happen, for us, probably the same as you, finish at three p.m. and so early afternoon finish to go and do activities and stuff with the kids. So I'm glad that I didn't miss that opportunity because it's only there a moment and then
I
they're
know.
adults. So that success
Yeah.
is so many different things that you just can't quite see when you're a young fella, I don't think.
And when you see a baby, you think like, oh, they're going to be here forever, right? And then you're like, oh, well, gosh, I'm not sure. But yeah, mine are nearly 17 and 20 as well. So just, I think that's why grandparents are so good because they've realized it and they just spend time and
Yeah.
enjoy the time and the moment and however it is. And sometimes parents are a little bit caught up in the things you have to do,
Yeah.
and remembering and realizing like, oh, I have to do this too. I want to do this. I chose this person. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So now your version of success now is what? Like, how do you define authentic success for you in this moment?
Yeah, it's certainly evolved even past that time sort of management sort of style. It's building a career around life as well. So I've made the advantage of creating your own business is you design your own career path because you can make the business whatever you want it to be. and your career, whatever it wants to be. So I get to do the things I enjoy. I get to talk to people. I get to meet with people. I get to work a schedule that I want to.
Yeah.
Um, and growth. I mean, I'm still wired by growth. I don't need the extra financial incentive, but I mean, that's kind of how we measure things a little bit. Um, so early on, it was all about getting enough income to sustain myself, which is kind of a need. That was
Yeah.
a success measure. But once you get past that, it's less about money. It's just about producing more value for the world.
Yeah. And what do you think is coming next for you? Like, what are you looking forward to as far as your next chapter, your next success?
Yeah,
What
well,
do you want it to be?
yeah,
Yeah.
I've launched my own podcast. I've guested on a bunch last year,
Nice.
and so it was such a learning curve. So it was a massive, I like to be stretched and grow, and it gave me opportunity to get better at it. I'm still
Yeah.
learning, as you can tell, but
Me too.
the next step felt like starting my own, and then I can have conversations with people that I want to talk to on there about, it's mainly for trades and construction people. So I'm trying to get those people
That's
on.
awesome.
Yeah, and it's been fun. So there's been a bunch recorded already, and I feel like I'm getting slightly better at the interview process. But it's keeping
Yeah.
me excited and motivated, to do something new because I've been working at this game a long time now. So it keeps me fresh. I feel like it's something new and exciting.
What is your podcast and is your audience, are you targeting just people in Australia or people in construction trades all over?
All over. I think I've recorded about a dozen, and I only released maybe four, I think. And I think I've only interviewed two Australians out of that dozen. So,
Oh,
they're
wow.
all over the world, Canada and US, and I think one from the UK. Um, yeah, so it can be anywhere. Yeah,
And
any trades and construction people would be a perfect guest as well.
and what is the podcast title?
Built, trusted, chosen.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I love it. That's so
Thanks.
cool. Yeah, it makes sense. Like, oh, that's so cool. Build trust and chosen. Oh, that's so awesome. And so you tell the stories of like them and their business, or like what's your format? Yeah.
It's kind of like how you model your own. So I've got some rough kind of questions to fall back upon if I get a bit stuck, but it just feels like conversations, like I'm talking to a mate. I try to keep it as natural feeling as possible. So sometimes there's not many questions at all. There was one guy who had lots of thoughts, and it was just me listening to him really, but and just prompting in different ways in which, because there were so many ideas, so just prompting which direction we might take. It was kind of like guiding the ship
Yeah.
rather than anything else. So yeah, but so I'll learn the craft a bit better and build an audience. It'll take time, but I'm enjoying it.
That's right. That's right. Well, and but the same things that helped you with your business that you already had, foundationally understood those about the consistency and all of those things, especially with, helping other people's social media and all of that. It's just the same thing. So yeah, I hadn't intended to have a podcast. It was supposed to be a radio show turned into a podcast, and I just kept doing it. And then through Podmatch, kept meeting so many awesome people that I went from one episode a week to then I just jumped to 3 episodes a week because I'm like, well, I've got it. And then even I was thinking like, well, maybe I could jump to 4 episodes a week. And now I'm like, okay, forget it. You got to keep something so that I have time to serve clients, have time to be there while the kids are still, relatively in this area. But I'm
Yeah.
super excited
Yeah,
for
for sure. Yeah,
your podcast
absolutely.
and seeing.
I can imagine your business side I suppose we're digressing a little bit, but I can imagine there's a massive need for it with I guess the shake up of everything that's going on. Globally, it
Yeah.
feels like people have got to figure out their transition to their new career journey and what does work look like for them and how does that balance into their life. All of these things since COVID, I think people are thinking about it a whole lot more. So you're positioned for the perfect business, I think. People need support in that because you just don't know what you don't know.
That's right. Yeah, and it's by choice or by force a lot of these transitions come.
Yeah.
And some of it is just like, for my own journey, it was partially just this like nagging feeling like this isn't it. Like this can't be it. And I was just becoming someone at home that I didn't want to be. My joy wasn't there. It was just this like underneath anger and angst and just mad at the world. And part of it was because I was allowing myself to stay in a situation that wasn't fully utilizing all of who I was.
Yeah.
And so that had caused some strain on my performance, not my performance, but my relationships and my own well-being were feeling that strain. And finally, I needed to just kind of break free or break through into that next chapter. And I was like, man, what can I do? How can I help people with this? Oh, I'll make my scientifically validated, data-driven assessments as foundations and really help people sort it out if they really wanted to get it like to the core. What is the challenge here? What is the issue? What would I love my life to look like? Then that's what I try to, do my best to help them through. But not everyone's ready. Some people are just in the, I just need a new job. That's it. I just need a new job. And what they don't realize is they could get a new job and they could find the same problems on just different faces. So it's a lot of internal.
Yeah, we just accept things as normal, but maybe there's a whole more joyful experience that is just outside of our understanding. I mean, you spoke of the things that steal your joy. I mean, we've all got them to a degree, but it's not until they're pushed to a point where it's great enough that you want to make a change.
Correct.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a whisper, a whisper, a whisper, and then you're going to get sat down,
Yeah.
So again, by choice or by force, but
Yeah.
something can kind of come to a head. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, I have thoroughly enjoyed getting to know a little bit more about your career journey, your awesome success in business. Tell people if they are in construction trades, etc., and if they're thinking this guy sounds awesome or trying to start their own business or they already have it, how can you help them?
Yeah.
How do they find you?
Yeah, the easiest way would be the website, uplift360.com.au. You will find the podcast there as well if that's what you're interested in. So, but if people want to, they can book a strategy call with me so we can talk about some of these things and how they might apply to their own business.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Wes, thank you so much for all of your time today. I'm excited about releasing this one and definitely wish you all the utmost success in your podcast and continuing with your business as well.
Thanks, Caroline. Been wonderful to be on the show.
Thank you so much. Wes, thank you for this conversation. I appreciate how you redefine success around value, presence, and work that supports the life you want. Thanks for listening to Your Next Success with Dr. Carolyn Sangal. Remember, authentic success is yours to define and includes aligning your career to support the life you want.